Hi, this is Jen, and I'm back with another quick video tutorial. This one's on adding transparent text over photos, or adding a transparency with text cut out of it, and I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But it's just a little text technique, say that 10 times fast, and to just add a little pizzazz to your photos, either for posting on social media, or for scrapping, or for your project life. So here we go. The photo that I'm going to choose first to play with is this really nice scene. This is from the desert in Southern California. My husband's family's from there, and we went to visit last week, as a matter of fact. And one evening we went out to the desert, and we just had a really nice time. The kids ran around, we did fireworks, and it was lovely. This was sunset, so I snapped this shot, and I am going to just use it as an example. First thing I'm going to do for this technique is to add a transparency to this layer, or to this photo. That means the photo's the background. I'm going to add a layer on top of it. Now, on this layer, I need to turn it white. Okay, I can do it a couple ways. I can either, I see already have white as my foreground color here. I can either just use the paintbrush, or you can easily just go up to your fill, and this usually says foreground color as a default, but you can easily change that to just white, and that makes it super easy. Click OK, and I'm just going to turn it white. Voila. Now, I can't see my photo underneath it, and I want to see it underneath so I can work with it with my text. So I'm going to go ahead and decrease the opacity of this right here. Okay, decrease. It doesn't matter what you decrease it to, because you can change this later, and we'll probably change it later. But I just want to see my photo underneath it. So now I have this layer. On top, that is a transparency layer. I could have initially made a mask and colored in the mask and done it that way, the right size, but this is just as easy because I can resize it later. So the next thing I'm going to do is work with my text. I'm going to get a brand new layer, in fact. I'm going to hit my text here, and I'm going to just type in, let's type in desert sunset. It's teeny tiny, so I'm not really sure if that says what I need it to say or not. So let me just make it a little smidge bigger so I can make sure I've spelled things right, and I have. So move tool, and hit the little corner thingies again, and make it bigger to the size that I want it to be on my photo. Okay, so let's just say Desert Sunset. The font I used on this, I really like this font. It's called A Tall Drink of Water, and it's by Heather Hess and Emily Merritt at the Lilypad. They have a little collab, and this is one of the fonts on it. I really like it a lot. So now I have my font. And it doesn't matter what color this is. This can be black, it can be white, it just doesn't make any difference at all because it's going to disappear anyway. So let's set that font. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, again, make it transparent, make it disappear, make it like a cutout, so to speak. Now, there's an easy way to do this in Photoshop. You can still do it in Photoshop Elements, and if you hang on a minute, I'm going to show you how to do it in Photoshop Elements. But let me show you this quick and easy tip in Photoshop first, okay? First I have to take these two layers here, my transparency and my text layer, and I need to group them together. If I don't group them together, the reason is because when I don't group them together, when I delete this text, it's going to delete it from all of the layers, including my background, and I don't want that. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to group them together. There's several ways to do that. One of the ways is to just Command G. That's the way I typically do it. You can find that, layer, I bet. Group layers, there we go, Command G. You can also right click over there and find it that way, but bottom line is I've got it grouped here. Once I've got them grouped, I'm going to go to my text layer, and then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to find blending options. I can find that by right clicking on this. Blending options is at the very top. I can also find it here on this little drop down menu. Blending options is here. Any way you want to get to it, it's fine. But you're going to end up with this. Okay? Under my blending options, my advanced blending, go to knockout. Okay, because I'm going to knock that text out. I'm going to go to shallow. And then I'm going to take this fill opacity and go all the way down to 0. And if you notice, my text has now disappeared. And I can actually see some of my photo underneath it. Okay? And so that is easy as pie. I've done that, and that's done. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the transparency layer so that it kind of looks to be where I want it to be. And it will sort of frame my transparent text. And I will do that in just a minute as soon as my little beach ball of death disappears. I hate that beach ball. It's thinking. But what that will do is eventually I'll have a pretty little transparent line with a transparency line with a transparent text underneath. So go to my layer. I'm going to go up to the top and just kind of drop that down where I want it. Let's move this up here. Go to my text layer. Oh, I got to okay that. Go to my text layer. Move it up some. You know, just kind of play around with this till it's where you want to see it. You can make all the adjustments that you want. But bottom line is, this is sort of what you end up with. And it just gives a little special, little extra something to your photo. Now, I think this is actually probably not transparent enough, my transparency. So I'm going back up to my transparency layer, and I'm going to decrease the opacity a little bit more. And this is where I was talking about you can change that so it's not stressful initially. So I'm just going to decrease it a smidge more to there, and that's the way I want to see it. Okay? Now, if you are on Photoshop Elements, it's not quite as easy to do this, but it's definitely doable, and I've done this way many, many times when I worked with Elements. Basically, let me go back up here before I grouped. Okay, I've got my text, I've got my transparency. Now, for this technique, you need to get your transparency where you want it to be. You kind of want to get it set up first before you go deleting stuff, because otherwise you have a more difficult time with that. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of set the scene first. So that's the way I want it to look. Again, this can be done later, but let's decrease the opacity there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my desert sunset, my text. I'm going to click on my magic wand. Okay, my magic wand tool here. There it is. I love that wand. And I'm going to start making marching ants around each of these letters. Now, in Photoshop Elements, you just go for it, okay? In just a minute, actually in Photoshop you can too, but in just a minute you're going to see where I'm going to have to do a little extra step because I'm on Photoshop, not Elements. But I'm going to march my ants around each letter. This is easy breezy. By the way, I'm clicking Shift as I go, which allows the previous letters to stay outlined while I'm continuing on with my magic wand. So I've got all the marching ants that I want. Now I'm going to just hit delete, and it's going to delete that that text. Now again, in Photoshop Elements, you just hit delete. In Photoshop, I'm going to actually have to rasterize this layer. See this? I got to rasterize my text. So let's just rasterize my type and then delete it. And now it's gone. If you notice underneath, my layer is not gone here. So I'm going to go to my layer, and I'm going my transparency layer rather, and I'm going to delete that as well. And there they go. It's all gone. Let's go ahead and unselect. It's the same effect as in Photoshop. Okay, so it can be done that way too. It doesn't take that much longer, but I haven't figured out how to use the blending option for that, if it's even possible. Honestly, I didn't do a lot of research on it, so if somebody knows, I'd love to know. But you get the same effect. Now, I did want to show you one other thing. This is another photo. This is also taken the same day in the Badlands. We did fireworks. These are my 4 kids surrounding some kind of this was not a firework. I'm not that bad of a mom. But they were just little poppy things on the ground. They didn't do anything or go anywhere, but I thought it ended up being a good picture. I did the exact same technique here using a really, let's see, what font did I use here? Because it's a really cute font too. This is it's the same font. tall drink of water. But I used the same technique here. But what I wanted to show you is some other things that you can do with this. Let's say I don't want this transparency on there, but I still want my text to look kind of cool or different. So there's a couple of things here. If I go back up to my blending options, okay, if you notice in Photoshop, there's all of these fancy things over here. I clicked a couple of them already just so you can see what they look like. If I click the bevels and emboss, it kind of looks like this, which is kind of special, kind of cool. I can up that a little bit so it's not in the way of the lights, which makes it really kind of cool. I can click my inner shadow and it'll shadow it. You see, inner shadow won't do much with black on black text, but with the beveling, it adds a little something. And then this is really cool. I added a gradient overlay, and I thought that looked kind of spiffy. And you see, even without any of the other stuff, gradient overlay looks cool. With just the inner shadow, that's the way it looks. And then if you just had the bevel with it, the embossing, that's the way it looks. But I mean, it just adds a little something to the photo. When I did the gradient, sorry, blending options. When I did the gradient, I actually did change this up a little bit so that it was, because I think the default showed it about like this, which I liked, and I like that fine. But if you got rid of your beveling, I think that it kind of, oops, you can't see it quite as well if I get rid of my beveling. See, I couldn't see the last half of the word. If I had the beveling, it works great. But without the beveling, I couldn't see the last half of the word. So I went in here, and you can adjust this easily. I went in here, and sorry, I'm trying. I'm right-clicking, nothing's happening. Okay, I went in here, and I adjusted this a little bit for my gradient overlay. And so if you notice, watch what it does. It makes it where more of the word is gradient, is a gradient. Now, obviously, I could go 100%, and then it wouldn't be a gradient at all. It would just be, well, a little bit of gradient, but not very much. So I like it down about like there, so I can see the whole word. I think that's kind of cool. Then I add back my inner shadow, and I can just play. It's just fun to play. There's endless possibilities with what you can do with text on photos. And so I just wanted to give you a taste of it, and I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that maybe you learned a little something, and I would love to see what you do. I'd love to see how you do it, if you do things differently. And so holler at me, let me know. You can leave me a comment on the YouTube video, on the blog, obviously. Please, this will be obviously on the Lilypad blog. I'm going to also post it in the forum there, so I'd love to have comments there. But just let me know what you think, and I hope that you guys have a super day and get creative today. Thanks.